going over a powerful question. What are you more afraid of? Being unseen or being forgotten? We're going to get into that today, and I've got some thoughts, some opinions on both sides of the coin. Because of course, the mission of this show is to help women who have navigated a trauma or transition find healing through writing and publishing their first book. So if fear of being seen is a struggle for you, then let's talk about and contrast that with the fear of being forgotten. Stay tuned. Good evening. Happy Wednesday, my winners and go-getters. Welcome to this week's edition of the Getting the Win Show. I'm your host, Melissa T, the procrastination bully. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the fear of being seen versus the fear of being forgotten. Both of these are powerful, and I want to tear these down over the course of this episode so that neither is an issue for you in getting the process started for your book, finishing the process of your book if you're midway, and then, of course, the process afterwards. Because I can understand both. In some cases, you might be someone who maybe that your natural disposition is to not be seen. You're somebody that prefers to remain behind the scenes. Perhaps you're a valuable leader. Perhaps you're a valuable, what we like to call number two, somebody that holds up the leader and makes sure that the leader is always successful. And there is a place for that. Believe it or not, that is a form of leadership. Like, I'll be honest with you, that was something I had trouble acknowledging in my own life. I am someone who is a number two. My whole job is to help other people blossom. That is my purpose on this planet. So I struggle with that as well. And I did, for many years, have a fear of being seen. Now, in my case, I was thrust into the spotlight. I didn't have a choice. I worked for Florida National News, which is a news outlet. And I was the face of the news outlet. So when you're somebody that's used to being behind the scenes and you're suddenly the face of a brand, you have to adjust very quickly. So if you're someone that has an idea for a book, or you've been told by the people in your life that you should write one, but you have hesitated on starting the process because you have that fear, let's talk about that. Let's unpack that. So for one, what is behind that fear of being seen? Is it because you are dealing with perhaps a fear of failure? Is it imposter syndrome, perhaps? Maybe you're like, who am I to talk about this subject matter? Is it any of those questions? Let's address that, okay? Put it in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. Comment below and let me know if any one of those applies to you. So if you're someone that prefers to be behind the scenes, you're just not writing the book because you just don't want the spotlight at all. My question with regards to that is, what if your book is intended to help or heal someone else? Would you rather keep the book within and withhold that help from that other person that needs it? What if the person only can hear it from you? Are you okay with the possibility of that person not hearing that help from you? Are you okay with the possibility of the trade-off of not being seen, not being in the spotlight, versus not having the fulfillment on the other end of having helped the people that you are called to help? So make sure to weigh those. Okay, that's the first part. If you're preferring not to have the spotlight on you, is perhaps your fear of being seen coming from perhaps a fear of the responsibility that would come with being seen? Because for many people who say they have a fear of success, essentially that's what that fear of success is. If you're boiling it all the way down to the truth of it, it's the fact that they either don't know what those responsibilities will entail, which brings in the fear of the unknown, right? Or they don't want the responsibilities. that being known or becoming successful would entail. So then there's that. Let's address that. Be honest with yourself in the comments below, in your journal, wherever you hold yourself accountable, or hold yourself accountable with your who, because I always talk about that on this show, right? Being accountable to a who. So, does your fear of being seen come from a fear of success, that fear of the unknown, of not knowing what those responsibilities are going to look like once you blow up or once you become successful, once the demand for you increases? Or is it from simply not wanting to fulfill the responsibilities that are going to come with being successful and being in greater demand? Be honest with yourself about that. Okay. Write that down, record it on your device, whether that's your phone or your tablet, whichever the case is. But make sure to log it after you watch this episode. Okay. Log that down. And going back to what I said before, we talked about the success thing, but is it from imposter syndrome? Are you asking yourself, what if people find out I'm a liar? Or what if people find out that I'm not quite who I say I am, or how I'm positioning myself to be with this book or with my supposed expertise? Here's a simple answer for imposter syndrome. I learned this from E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher and CJ. They said imposter syndrome only applies if you're actually an imposter. Like if you're actually lying and you're actually deceiving people, then yeah, by all means, imposter syndrome should apply. But for most of us who deal with imposter syndrome, that concern is actually unfounded. So if that's your case, if you do have a genuine experience or trauma that you have navigated, you've come all the way through to the other side, and someone in your life has told you should write a book, or you personally have the belief in you that you should write a book, then those two criteria alone qualify you to do this. Or if you're midway and you've been hit with imposter syndrome midway and you pause based on that, those two criteria, the fact that you've already been through the process and the fact that you do have a genuine push within you to write a book, or someone in your life is encouraging you to write one, those two criteria, that is enough to qualify you to write it and publish it. It completely nullifies the imposter part because, one, you have experienced the trauma or transition, so you know what you're talking about because you have the actual life experience to speak on it. And two, that other criteria, clearly there is a demand. Whether that demand for the book is coming from within you, I should write this book, or someone in your life has observed the way that you've navigated your trauma or transition, and they like what they saw, or they admire what they saw, or they're intrigued with what they saw. And they said, you know what? I observed this. I believe other people should know about it too. That is all the validity you need to either start your book or to finish it. So that busts up the imposter syndrome part of the process. If your fear of being seen is rooted in the who am I to talk about this, you're you. You've been through the trauma and the transition. You have learned the lessons you've needed to learn. And the one beautiful thing about our lives is that we are indeed unique based on our experiences and the way our past experiences inform the lessons we learn. But the lessons we learn, though, are universal. And that's the beauty of it. Like, principles are universal and they're repeatable, which is why books always work. Books are always timeless, at least the good ones. Books like How to Win Friends and Influence People will never die. Books like Joyce Meyer's Battlefield of the Mind will never die because they're built on principles. Principles are timeless. They last generations. Battlefield of the Mind is timeless because we all struggle with intrusive thoughts. We struggle with temptations. We struggle with false beliefs. So the battlefield of the mind provides strategies to overcome those things. That's universal. Those are principles. Something like how to win friends and influence people, that's human behavior. We all tend to have certain variations of behavior that work no matter what. Sociology is a whole beautiful science. Human psychology is a whole beautiful science. And how to win friends and influence people involves both of those things that can teach you principles on how to create and maintain fruitful relationships. A book like Think and Grow Rich, that's great because those are business principles as well as some mindset principles. Those are universal. Think and Grow Rich is another book that will never die. That book has been built on. So, for the African American community, there's Dennis Kimbrough's variation of it, Think and Grow Rich, a Black choice. So some of those have been built on based on other experiences, based on different people groups. So sometimes culture will inform a thing, but there are certain things that are universal. So some things that you've learned as a result of navigating that trauma or transition will be universal. So who are you to tell your story? Who are you to share your lessons? Someone else to add your voice to the melody that already exists. And that's okay. The beauty of harmony is that there are different voices in different vocal registers singing different notes that all create something beautiful. And your voice being added to that symphony, to that melody, to that harmony will make something even more beautiful. And sometimes it is your voice in your exact frequency that is going to reach that specific person that needs your lesson. Here's a great example of this. There's a bevy of motivational speakers out there. I got into the whole motivational speaking space in 2014 when I was first introduced to Tony Robbins. I was already following a thought leader named Marie Forleo. She focuses on empowering women entrepreneurs. That's her whole jam. Like, she teaches women to create businesses of their own. And she did an interview with Tony Robbins, who at the time was promoting his massive tome of a book called Money Master the Game. This is pre-pandemic, so this is early 20 teens. But because of what I heard in listening to him, that thrusted me into the motivation space. So then I started listening to people like Les Brown. Then I got put on to people like Lisa Nichols. But I'm saying this as an example because these are the people I resonate with. However, there are plenty of other well-known names in the space. People like Zig Ziglar, people like Jim Rohn, who was Tony Robbins's mentor. But can I tell you, Jim Rohn doesn't quite resonate with me in the same way that a Marie Forleo does, or in the way that Lisa Nichols does, or in the way that Les Brown does. There's something about their frequency, something about their vibes, something about the way they tell their stories that resonates more with me. Don't get me wrong, Jim Rohn is a titan in the field, obviously. Zig Ziglar, titan in the field. Brian Tracy, also an amazing voice. And he's more so motivation, yes, but he's more so business minded. He's helping you build your business out. Like, he's big in the entrepreneurial space. So there are plenty of voices out there. But just even from my example, while there are plenty of other voices, I read Think and Grow Rich, but ironically, like, there were some things I was able to take from it. But a book like Lisa Nichols's Abundance Now, which is similar to Think and Grow Rich, Abundance Now is a mindset book. Think and Grow Rich is a mindset book. Lisa Nichols' Abundance Now did the job a bit better for me. The principles were able to sink in much more quickly because the way she explains things it resonates with me. I understand her a little bit more. Like, there's a greater appeal for me with her. So in your case, there is someone out there for whom your voice, your tone, your expressions, the way you tell your stories will resonate much more strongly than anything else that already exists. So, who are you to tell your story? You are the perfect person to tell it because it's yours and because someone out there is waiting for your voice to tell the story and teach the lesson. Another example of this is Dr. Myron Golden. Tardy for the party here, okay? Dr. Myron Golden has been using YouTube full time for the past few years. I only got put on to Dr. Myron Golden in 2024. Tardy. But I will say he resonates very much with me because of the way that he teaches. Dr. Myron Golden is somebody that can take complex, very broad business principles and biblical principles and breaks them down into simplistic bites that are so much easier to understand and, more importantly, apply. And this goes back to the difference between Think and Grow Rich and Lisa Nichols' Abundance Now. The way Think and Grow Rich is written is not, for me personally, was not as easily applicable as the way Lisa Nichols wrote Abundance Now. She wrote it in a way that was easier to follow and apply for me, for the way my brain works. I'm someone that's high air traffic controller, meaning I'm detail oriented, and I'm very high GC, like high grounds crew. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. And if it's something I'm brand new at, hold my hand through the process the first time or the first couple of times. Because when I do it the first time, I'll likely make a mistake. But once I go through it one full iteration with no mistakes, I'm off to the races. You don't need to supervise me anymore. I'm good. Especially if it's something that is repeatable, if it's something that is a system. That's how my brain works. So based on how you're wired, there's a reader out there that matches your wiring, and your story could reach them. Your lessons could reach them. They're a chapter behind you just waiting to learn or just waiting to be told what to do from someone who's walked the walk already. Okay? So that's us tackling the fear of being seen. Now, if there's another element to that, if there's another question that applies to that, comment below what that is for you. Like, what is the root of that fear of being seen? And if I haven't covered it, comment below and I would love to unpack that with you. Okay. But now let's go to that next one, that fear of being forgotten. Okay. This is important because sometimes that is what will push someone to write a book. Because as I mentioned, books are timeless. This one back here, it's a special edition, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's a leather bound one because it also comes with pages so you can write notes. Okay. But let's talk about that fear of being forgotten. What's behind that? I can tell you personally, that fear of being forgotten comes from the experience of the fear of being seen. So here is the unspoken and underlying caveat to remaining in the background. If you choose to remain in the background, there is that risk of being forgotten. Okay? If folks don't know the impact you can have on them, they may not remember what you've done or what you have the potential to do. That was a struggle of mine. When I was super shy before, and I'm reserved. I'm still a very reserved person. I'm an introvert. But these days I understand how to communicate my value. Before, it would be very difficult to have a conversation or to enter into an already going conversation, an already active one. Because when you're used to not being seen, there's also that potential struggle of not speaking up not flexing that muscle of speaking up or speaking clearly. And when folks don't hear you, they don't notice you. When they don't notice you, they'll forget you're there. Now, mind you, this is not me pushing for you to be obnoxious or overly, disrespectful in any way. Like, push boundaries, don't breach them. That's my thing. And don't get me wrong, there are times when boundaries do need to be breached. That's what activism is, right? But I'm saying when you're sharing your story, sharing your lesson, definitely push the boundaries for sure, because that gets people's attention. Especially if you're someone that's used to being behind the scenes, you're used to not pushing, you're used to complying. Like, push the boundaries, push those boundaries. That way you will be remembered. Your voice will be heard. You'll add your voice to that symphony, that harmony, that melody that I mentioned earlier. Now, to tie this in with the procrastination bully, because I'm still here, right? I'm talking about authors, but I'm still helping you beat procrastination through this process. I learned this from Marie Forleo. She also teaches productivity. Her course is called Time Genius. But she recently shared a statistic that shocked me. She said 92% of people who set goals don't achieve them at all. That's a really high number. In every other positive context, 92% is pretty darn good normally. 92% on something that is bad is alarming. So, if you're struggling with the fear of being forgotten, this is important. Let's not set the goal of doing the book and not accomplishing it. If you procrastinate on getting the book done, you have two problems. One, the possibility of being forgotten. But then two, you also have the disappointment of not completing the goal. The disappointment of not completing the goal can then, if you're not careful, spiral into something else, into self-kicking, self-loathing, or depression. I talked about this several episodes prior when I talked about the cost of inaction. 92% of people who set goals don't complete them. And remember, your girl is a procrastination bully because I know what chronic procrastination feels like, which is why I can speak to the end result of not completing a goal, the disappointment in yourself, the decreased confidence in yourself. Because remember, Ed Milet defines confidence as keeping the promises you make to yourself. So if you fear being forgotten, then it's important to accomplish the goal. Your voice needs to be heard. Your impact needs to be felt, both when you're present and when you're not. If you fear being forgotten, going back to the root questions, why is that? Have you perhaps struggled with rejection? And perhaps there's the fear that you won't be seen. By the way, that rejection struggle also applies to the fear of being seen. Have you struggled with rejection on this side with the fear of being forgotten? That you want to make sure that your moment on earth is a blip on the radar. You want to make sure that ping is heard and seen. I get it. I fully understand that. And I can speak to the fear of rejection applying on both sides. I was someone that did fear being seen before. Again, being in the news media, that forced me to be seen. And there were a lot of responsibilities that came with being in front of the camera that I was forced to face. Being in front of a camera, I have to make sure I can articulate correctly. Back when it was just me and my friends, the folks I knew, I could talk however I want to. I was articulate anyway, because I'm an avid reader. But speaking in front of a camera is a different skill. It's a much different skill. And speaking in front of a camera for a news outlet, you must be polished, or else you won't be taken seriously. That was a skill I had to develop. That was a responsibility I had to take on. So, in terms of the rejection thing, I had that fear. What if no one takes me seriously? The imposter syndrome, right? Who am I to be in front of a camera holding a microphone for a news outlet when I've never worked for an established one? My very first time holding a microphone in front of a camera was with that independent news outlet. I didn't go to school for journalism. This was the school of hard knocks right here. So, imposter syndrome was certainly a thing, which was rooted in rejection. I'm someone that is a recovering perfectionist. I had to learn my effort in the moment is my effort in the moment. I need to do my absolute best, but I can't belabor the point in my head and not do the action because time is of the essence. So I was forced to adapt. The situation called me up, you know? So on this side now, the fear of being forgotten, here's how the root of rejection applies for me with that. When I was afraid of being seen, I was completely ill conditioned in speaking up for myself. And as such, I was easily ignored in crowded spaces. And because I was easily ignored and forgotten, I felt the frustration. There is nothing more frustrating in the world than having an idea, an opinion, or a solution, even for someone that is right in front of you, but either don't hear you or don't recognize you or don't take you seriously. Being forgotten is frustrating. Let's just say that. Being forgotten is frustrating because it speaks to one of Maslow's needs not being met. One of our needs, one of our basic human needs, is the need to belong and also the need for significance, right? We feel the need to belong in community, right? And we also want to matter. We want to matter. Brendan Burchard shares his story very often about what happened when he got into an accident. And like it was close for a while there. He wasn't sure he was going to survive. And at the time, when he tells his story, he asked himself two questions. Was I loved? And did I matter? He was 19 years old. And because of that, he chose to live his life, the rest of his life, in such a way that he would make sure he was loved and show love and to make sure that he mattered. So to this day, if you go to Brendan Burchard's content now, he also teaches productivity. He coaches very high performers like heads of state, Olympic athletes, millionaires and billionaires, like high performers. But he can say at this point in his life, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that he is loved and that he matters. So let's come back to that fear of being forgotten. If you have that book in you, if you're midway in your book's journey, I strongly, strongly encourage you to finish it. Your book will be an indelible step in making sure you're never forgotten because books are timeless, regardless of the format. Hardcover, paperback, but ebook or audiobook now, regardless of the form that your book takes, that's you. And it's on the internet, which is permanent. Let's not forget that. Essentially, the internet is permanent. Even if you delete it from your source on the computer, that thing is saved on somebody's server somewhere. So no matter what happens, your content will forever exist. At least until the world, that's very dystopian, but if something drastic happens to the entire world, where all the data is lost, in the current system of things, you're out there permanently. And all the better when your book is in someone's hand. because now they have it to read. They have the physical thing to write in. They have the audiobook in their Audible library to be able to play in the car during their commute or on a road trip or while they're multitasking at home. They get to hear you, whether through the words or even with your own voice if you choose to narrate your own book. You won't be forgotten once you publish the thing. So I'm encouraging you, if you do have a fear of being forgotten, face that fear head on by finishing. Or if you're starting your book from scratch, face that fear head on by starting. Start the writing process. And as I mentioned before, recording is the cheat code, okay? Even if you're somebody that prefers to type. I'm in the midst of my 4-week book boot camp right now, the Truth to Transformation book boot camp. And as I taught the ladies in there, if we're talking 30 minutes a day and the average person speaks 150 words a minute, 150 words a minute over 30 minutes is already 4,500 words in one day. You can knock out a 20,000 word book in 1 week. In 1 week. We did the numbers. 4,500, that's 30 minutes of talking, 4,500 words multiplied over 6 days came out to 27,000 words. The average nonfiction book is 20. So imagine being able to exceed the goal in 1 week at 30 minutes a day. And imagine the impact that all you needed was 1 week of effort that's going to last you for the rest of your life and well after you're gone. If your fear is being forgotten, writing your book, finishing it and publishing it is the direct antidote to that. It's the direct solution. Building something around your book is also a solution. Whether you build a course around your book or you build a lecture series, meaning a tour where you get booked and paid to speak. That's another way of ensuring you're never forgotten, because now it's your direct voice speaking to the people, in addition to them having your words. If you struggle with that fear of rejection, if your fear of being forgotten is rooted in that, the book is the solution. Because here's the thing, marketing the book is in your court. It's up to you to get the word out about your book. And some may say, well, actually, that is exactly what I'm afraid of. I'm going to put my word out and then get rejected. No, because here's the thing. Marketing your book to become successful is a numbers game. A best-selling book qualifies as 10,000 copies sold. It's going to take a lot of iterations, a lot of reps, a lot of interviews, a lot of blog posts, a lot of you talking about your stuff to get to 10,000 book sales. So if the first few iterations bomb, you still have quite a few reps left to go. That's actually reassuring. The fact that you have so many opportunities to touch people's lives concerning your book, long before they ever buy it, that's actually encouraging. If you're a perfectionist like me, a recovering one, this is good. You get the chance to correct as you're going. Some people say you build the plane as you're flying, like as you're falling, you build the plane. I prefer to look at it as you get to build as you go along, not necessarily as you're falling. I don't like the falling thing. But as you're running, think of it like a marathon. As you're running, there are always people along the sides of the road during a marathon that are generous enough to offer you cups of water or cups of whatever energy drink they're going to give you, Gatorade, Powerade, whatever. But they're along the side and they'll come out, they'll offer you a cup, you can grab it, rehydrate, and keep going. Each time you rehydrate, you regain energy and you can push faster. With each iteration, each post, each video, maybe you're terrified of being on camera, but you know you have to do it to promote your book. Each time you get on camera, you'll become better. You'll have a better idea of what to say. You'll plan more. Maybe you start off talking off the top of your dome. Maybe you'll plan and structure your videos more. Each time you have a go at it, you learn something new. You can apply that something new and make what you're doing even better. So that by the time you reach 10,000 copies sold, you will have become a well-oiled machine. It won't be at the 10,000 mark that you will be a well-oiled machine. You'll become the well-oiled machine before that. So that's my encouragement for you. If the fear of being forgotten is your struggle, do the thing. This is the procrastination bully talking to you. Do the thing. 4,500 words a day. Voice record your stories. Go back to my previous episode where I talked about the story audit. Starting from childhood to present day, what are the stories in your life that are the most relevant to the subject matter you want to teach to your reader? To the survival lessons that you want to impart. Perhaps you don't want to look at it as teaching, but survival lessons that you want to pass down. Stories are universal. From the beginning of human civilization, storytelling has been our form of survival. Tribes would pass down hunting stories. They would pass down survival stories to help their descendants survive, make sure they continue to live, make sure the species continues. Then after a while, we got into creative storytelling as a means of impact in that way, fictional stories. And that's okay too. Those have continued. They've evolved, haven't they? Now we're in the video age where people can become famous just off of TikTok or become famous from consistent YouTube content. But it's because of the power of story. Books will always and forever exist because of the power of story. Even the nonfiction books, people that put out guides, and if yours is something like that, there's still stories interwoven into the guides. It's not just enough to share facts, right? I recently learned from Brendan Kane, who is the author of, I think it's my first million followers or something like that. Hook Point is his other book. But he teaches that facts have one bit of impact, but stories impact a person 22 times more. There's a 22x more impact on a person when you share a story versus when you just tell them facts or give them instructions, which is why I'm sharing my journey with you as well. That fear of being forgotten, it's an icky feeling when you're trying to talk and people don't realize that you're talking. Or when you share something but it doesn't get taken seriously. It's an icky feeling. And I can tell you the massive difference of being in a community where my voice is heard, where my voice does matter, where my words are taken seriously. Your confidence blossoms exponentially when you're in that environment, when you know you won't be forgotten. So if you're struggling with the fear of being seen, the fear of being forgotten will likely tie in as well. And doing the book, starting or finishing it, is the solution for both. Don't let your fear of being seen stop you from fulfilling your purpose in saving someone else's life that is meant to read your material or hear your voice. And if you have a fear of being forgotten, let your book be the permanent footprint in the world. The footprint that will never go away, so that people always have a way to access your knowledge. Whether you build a business around your book or not, maybe you choose to only have the book and that's it. But at the very least, they will have the one tangible thing even if they never meet you. They will feel your impact and experience the benefit of your solution. There are people to this day who tell ET they haven't met him yet, but his words and all of his free videos on YouTube since 2008 saved their lives, saved their marriages, got them through college. They were either flunking or they were stressed out or they lacked confidence. And his free videos for well over a decade now got them through their struggles. Even though they never met him, never invested in his coaching, they were still able to get the impact because he did the thing. And as you know, E.T. is a prolific author. I've got 2 of his books on my bookshelf. YOU 365 is the devotional, but to the left of it is the YOU book, which went on to be a New York Times best-selling book. He understands the impact of having a book as well. Don't let the fear of being seen stop you from finishing your book or starting it. And if you need help with that, your girl is here to help you. So be sure to subscribe right here. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe at Getting the Win. You can follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Threads at Getting the Win Show. You can follow me on TikTok at Melissa T. Writes over there. And if you're an audiophile, you can subscribe to the show on Spotify, the Getting the Win Show. Season 1 is uploaded over there. And trust me, there's more to come over there. So if you're an audiophile, you prefer listening to the show, I got you. More is coming, okay? In the meantime and between time, be sure to continue to follow me on social media. Have a great and productive rest of your Wednesday and a great and productive rest of your week. Peace.